Positively Muskegon, it's Andy O'Reilly with Joellen Reindress. She is from Health West. And there is a big study going on in Muskegon right now. We've got all the details put on the page, but I wanted to get Joellen in here to talk a little bit about this because it's a big deal, it's an important deal, and some of the things addressed in the survey, people might not even stop and think about. Let's talk a little bit about the ACEs Muskegon program.
Okay, so ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And what the survey does is it asks you questions about 10 specific adverse childhood experiences or things that may have happened to you before the age of 18. And we're asking people that live in Muskegon County to take this survey for a couple of reasons. One of them is to provide information to people in Muskegon County about how trauma affects us when we're growing up. And then we're also having people do it so we can actually measure and use the data to change the services that we already have and to also maybe design new services around what the ACE scores are for people that live in Muskegon County.
So you're shaping the future of some of the services offered by Health West.
That is the plan.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
You got to know what the problem is before you can fix it, so it's a pretty good thing that you guys are taking a look to be a part of all this. Talk about the questions a little bit. I know that some of them border.
Did you take the survey?
I have in the past.
Okay.
Yep. I know that some of them border on uncomfortable.
Yes.
But it's all anonymous.
Yes.
Nobody's going to know who's answering what.
Right.
Talk about some of the questions.
Okay, so some of the questions are about things like if you were ever sexually abused, emotionally abused, or physically abused as a child.
Do spankings count?
It depends on if you think that was abuse.
I don't.
Okay, that's an
A
individual.
little guilt for my mom, though.
We won't talk about how many times I was spanked as a kid.
They don't do that anymore. Nobody
It was an
gets spanked as a
amazing
kid.
amount. So, yes, so that's one question, or that's one part of the questions. And then there's if you've been divorced, if you had a parent, if you experienced divorce in your
Okay.
family. So if your
Yep.
parents are divorced, if you had a parent that had a mental illness diagnosis, or just had you think had a mental illness.
Sure.
If they had a substance use issue, if they had a domestic violence issue, if you not had domestic violence perpetrated on you, but if you witnessed domestic violence
Tough.
in your family.
Tough stuff.
So if you had a parent that was incarcerated, so see,
Okay.
these are like the way these questions go. So
Sure.
yes, they are sensitive. And one of the reasons that we're doing this study and want everyone in Muskegon County to participate in is because what we know is that these experiences are fairly common.
All right.
And because of that, but the problem is that we don't talk about that. Okay.
And you know, I've got some background with AA and different things that, you know, the human condition as a rule, I don't think is all that different from individual to individual. You know, the things that we experience and the things that we go through that make us who we are today can be easily unwound if you know others are in the situation that you were in or were in the situation. It's a matter of finding those people together.
Absolutely.
And learning that, hey, I'm no different than anybody else.
So we know that if you have an ACE score over, I believe it's 6, that there's a correlation with substance use, especially alcohol, that's 75% more likely
Wow.
to have a substance use issue with alcohol. So when we know these things, then we can sort of direct how we talk to people about taking care of themselves in the future. So sometimes people will say, oh my gosh, I have this really high ACE score, that means I'm doomed. No, it doesn't,
No.
because we have lots of resilient people wandering around this planet that have had bad things happen to them. The other part of the intervention that we hope to have people experience is that this is not a character issue.
Right.
When bad things happen to you as a kid, if you talk to kids about that, kids that have repeated bad things happen in their lives, they will say that this happened to me because I'm less of a person, or I'm not good enough, and they internalize that. And when that happens, how are you resilient when things happen? How do you cope with life when you feel that way about yourself?
I mean, there's a few things I can't really cope with still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when that happens, if we don't talk about it as a community, that these are things that happen to you. These are not your fault. These are not about your character. You didn't come from a bad family. You're not a bad person. These are just things that happen to you. It's the same thing that I do when I do the psychological first aid when I respond to a traumatic event
Sure.
in the community now with adults or with kids. This is something that happened to you. You might feel somehow responsible for this,
Not the
but
case.
it is not the case.
Good.
You're right.
So the survey, I've seen that you've got a little incentive attached to it as well.
Yes.
So if you take the survey, it's
Online.
It's not only about, and we'll put the link right here. It's not only about helping the community understand the needs a little bit better. You've got some giveaways too.
Yes, there is a chance to win a $500 Tango gift card
Yeah.
attached to it
So
for the online survey. We also have paper surveys, and what we want to do is have people in this community become champions about this.
yeah,
about
talk
the
about that
ACEs.
because you're asking for some people to tell their stories.
Yes, we would like people that if they take the ACE score and they want to talk about their ACE score, they can do that. We'll take that opportunity to give them a chance to talk about their ACE score, which I think will be a good thing as far as stigma is concerned
Yeah,
about
yeah,
these things
yeah,
that happen to
yeah.
people, and maybe help other people want to take the study as well.
Sure. All the information is right here. Just take that survey, get yourself in for that $500 gift card. And if you're one of the people that would like to take it to the next step, you know, I've done plenty of this when it comes to alcohol and my past and everything else. So I can tell you this, it's a pretty rewarding feeling once you get these things off your chest and you know that you've got the tools to help somebody else get past them too. So take that quiz. It's just down below. You'll see it right there. Joellen, thanks for stopping in. All the work that goes on at Health West is great. We appreciate you being out here today to talk about this survey, and hopefully we'll get you up to that 3,000 mark.
Thank
where
you.
we'll know exactly where the thing. And again, if you need information on this, go right to the website. And if you want to be one of the participants to tell your story, get a hold of Joellen right here.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joellen. All right, we'll see you.